Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you knew we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, you got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Want somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening. Sunday the 15th of June 2025. My name is Raja Mir. This is a Recusant 9 transmission. Sunday evening. Happy Father's Day to all of you who celebrated. I had the pleasure of my daughter. So she's now gone home to her mum. Very, very happy. Just a couple of sound checks for you before we begin. I'm hoping you can hear me. It's always the same. I can't hear you. I can't hear the music. I can't hear this, and I'm thinking, oh God, what have I done wrong? So hopefully you can hear me and you can see me, and we can hopefully start the broadcast. Thank you, Sheila. Happy Father's Day indeed. And thank you, Danny, for letting me know that the sound is good. Thank you. Okay, and that silliness has started again. I mean, I have no idea what's wrong with this, if I'm honest with you. No idea whatsoever. It seems to have a mind of its own when I switch it from one place to another. I've got 3 screens in front of me, and I think what it's doing is it's losing something when we move screens. So let me bring it here. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that, mate. No idea why it keeps doing that. I wish I did, but I don't. There you go. Let's see if that works. I know it's too small to read, mate. That's why I was messing around with it and trying to get it fixed. And this. I have no idea, mate. And I need to tell you right now, with that sort of defeatist attitude, I have no idea why you're wasting your time on a Sunday evening on here. There are far better things you can and should be doing. The reality of where we started this is we had no chance anyway. And yet 6.5 years later, I'm just going to get my t-shirt straight. 6.5 years later, here we are. Now, I'm not a people person. I'm one of those people, ever since a young age, when I ran organisations, worked in a certain way, I had people around me to speak to people, because I'd say to you, I'm going to give you a slap. Clearly, wouldn't be allowed these days in the bullying sort of whatever climate. But I don't tolerate fools. I do not tolerate fools. So if you want to have that defeatist attitude, go somewhere else. Because over 6 years ago we started here with absolutely nothing. I had none of this. None of you knew who I was. And I wrote an article on a Medium page that maybe a dozen of my friends would read. I think that's right, isn't it? A therapeutic slap. So, please, go away. It's going to be a cover-up. What's the point? Well, did you risk anything, you pricks? No, you didn't. So don't waste your time coming here and telling me we're wasting our time when we've sacrificed 6.5 years to get it this far. And sorry if I get angry over it, but I do get angry over it. That is the sort of attitude that got us in this mess in the first place. I started with nothing when I began this journey. In fact, I'll tell you what I started with. An Aldi carrier bag handed over to me by Warren Bates. Yet here we are. And I'll tell you something else, for absolutely nothing whatsoever. Free advice. Do you think we're stupid? Do you really think we don't know that they're going to try and cover it up? That somehow we're just going to go to them saying, yes, master, yes, yes, yes. Keir, Prime Minister, you're now going to do the right thing. Yes, we believe you, we trust you. Do you think that's the case? We have outmaneuvered them at every stage of the last 6.5 years to get it this far. At least give us some credit that we know what they're up to. At least give us some recognition that we've got it this far despite every one of them attempting to stop us using every lawful and unlawful means available to them. We have outmaneuvered every one of them. So don't give me any more of that shit of what's the point? It's a cover-up. Because every one of you who's saying what's the point, it's a cover-up, never did anything anyway, did you? No. So no more of that nonsense. If you're with me on this journey, you've got to believe that we can make a difference because the evidence so far demonstrates we've made a difference. No, I'm not having that as an excuse, mate. No way am I having that as an excuse. It is our responsibility to make sure that they can't cover it up. Let me give you an analogy. Perhaps it's an inappropriate one, I couldn't care less. A 12-year-old girl, the testimony is repeatedly how they've been gang raped. They just lay there eyes closed, hoping it would end. It never did. Is that what you are? Closing your eyes, hoping it will end? No. If it's glitching for people, just give me a second. Let me see if my daughter's left the one of her devices on. Just give me 1 second. Maybe it'll catch up. No, there's nothing on my end, so let me try resetting it, see if it makes a difference. No, there's not enough bandwidth, it's saying, so you're just gonna have to wait. I think that just demonstrates how we've got here and how far we've got here. I pay, I think it's Vodafone, the most money I can for whatever service I'm supposed to get, and I don't get it. And I'm in a part of the world where the internet isn't great. I keep putting my postcode in, hoping that one day this fibre or whatever it is will come. But it'll work itself out, I'm sure. So, even if you didn't know my last 6.5 years, what are you doing? Engaging with a campaigner who's been fighting for a public inquiry. We get one secured yesterday, and you come along and say it's not going to make any difference. No. You can't. We've got to try. And even if we come up short, so what? Even if we come up short, so what? What sort of person are you? Do you want to go through life hiding, cowering away? Okay, let's try and start this evening. It is troublesome at my end. I'm trying to sync the iCloud and stuff so I can present what I've got for you, and even that's not working properly. But I'll try my best. I want to start with something that I want you to see. This article is more than 5 months old, says The Guardian. They do this when they try and, hide stuff to make it seem like it's irrelevant. Ex-chief prosecutor rejects Musk's calls for new child abuse inquiry. And you can see the date, Thursday the 2nd of January. So this is just hours after we released Jess Phillips's letter that Charlie Peters then shared, then Elon Musk picked up on. I'm going to read it because I want you to understand what's gone on. So straight away, we'd been campaigning for a public inquiry, and the letter came to us rejecting a public inquiry. And we published that on New Year's Day. Straight away, Nazir Afzal, famous Nazir Afzal, the Rochdale prosecutor, rejects calls for a new child abuse inquiry, and this is amplified by The Guardian, you can see. And he's joined by Maggie Oliver. This is important. It's not me. So these people, we'd been campaigning for 6.5 years. Removing politician after politician, replacing them with other politicians, doing the unimaginable to force through a vote that had the council officially write to the government calling for a national inquiry. First of its kind anywhere. And we forced the Labour Party administration to do it, with Labour Party MPs and the local media and the police all coming after me at the time. In and out of police cells, in and out of courtrooms. Newspaper articles portraying me from everything from a child abuser to a misogynist to a racist and a far-right activist. All of that is going on. And yet we forced the council to write a letter. Do you not think we knew that they would reject it? Did you think we would go to them after everything that's happened and they'd say yes? We knew they would reject it. And we knew we would use the rejection to campaign against them. That's why I shared the letter. That's why Charlie Peters put it forward. And that's why Elon Musk picked up on it. And what did the establishment do? Within hours, The Guardian ran this article with Nazir Afzal and Maggie Oliver countering us, siding with the government. I don't criticise Maggie Oliver. I'm just laying the facts out so you understand this. There are so many moving parts to this. Yet here we still are. A former chief prosecutor and a police whistleblower who uncovered a notorious paedophile gang have hit back at demands from senior conservatives and the billionaire Elon Musk for a national inquiry into child sexual exploitation. What does that say? Because Elon Musk and senior conservatives did it because we forced our council to write. What does that say? Do you not think we didn't know that? Did you see me come here and shout and scream and abuse Maggie Oliver? No. Because we knew this would happen. And we were prepared for it. Because, and the people of my town will share with you, they've been playing tiddlywinks with us, drafts at a stretch, and we've been fighting back with them with three-dimensional chess. This game, if you want to call it a game, and I don't call it a game. I didn't come to this space ignorant. I came to this space with over 2 decades of doing this. 2 decades. Nazir Afzal, the ex-chief prosecutor who was central to successful prosecution of the Rochdale grooming gang, said lengthy and expensive inquiries were not acted upon by the previous Conservative government. Maggie Oliver, who resigned from Greater Manchester Police to speak out about police failings in child exploitation, said she did not want to hear more empty promises and political manoeuvrings. Well, you know what? It is political manoeuvrings that got us here. It is political manoeuvrings that got us here. You could line up survivors. For the next 50 years, line them up. Have them tell their story one after another. It will make no difference. Tommy Robinson can have 1 million people on the streets of London. It will make no difference. It is political manoeuvring that got us here. And it is political manoeuvring that will get us to where we now need to be. And you know something? I started out on my own. Now I'm not on my own. I've got allies all around me. We've got a national TV broadcaster. It doesn't matter that I'm blacklisted. They're saying exactly what I want them to say. We've got an MP in Parliament who's launched a rape gang inquiry of which panel I sit on. Raised £600,000 and more. You've got Reform MPs who I liaise with, whose councils, the 10 councils, where do you think I'm going and speaking to? So we now control 10 councils who are in the fight. We've got MPs, even if they don't speak to other, we've got MPs. And then look at people like Maggie Oliver. I want you to look at this. Against a public inquiry. And now, I have had 2 private meetings with Baroness Casey at the Casey Review in the past 3 months, and at her request I have also taken a group of 10 survivors to meet her and share their horrific experiences with her. She called me yesterday to update me, and for that I am very grateful. She is one of the very few people at the top who has given me any reason to trust them, and although I doubt the review will deliver everything I'd hoped for, I honestly believe it will be brutal in its exposure of the criminal neglect by those at the top that I've been shouting about for 13 years. Well, Maggie Oliver, and I mean this with nothing but respect, it is the political manoeuvring that forced the government to send Baroness Casey to do what she did. I am doing some media tomorrow with some of the survivors we met, including Good Morning Britain. I've lots to say, as you'd imagine, but both I and thousands of survivors whose lives have been destroyed by this gross criminal neglect have waited many years for this day. And so we can wait until tomorrow to say more. We have waited many years for this day. Well, who got us to this day? Who got us to this day? It is because I don't trust them. It is because I know what they are like. You put your hand in the mouth of a crocodile, you know what it's going to do. Please tell me if I'm being too harsh. It's not a criticism of Maggie Oliver at all. I could not do what she does. It breaks me just to read the testimonies. And I go to bed crying every time I meet a survivor and she shares with me what men who look like me did to them. So, there is not a single mainstream news provider, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, BBC 2, Sky, Talk, we'll get to that, GB News, who will interview me. I want to start here. Why are you playing on the TV? I don't want you playing on the TV.
Casual about honesty, decency, truth, and the rule of law. And when
okay, give me 1 second.
Politicians,
My TV's not even on. Whose TV are you playing on?
Politicians, and I mean politicians.
No,
when
thank you. Let's turn that Bluetooth off. Does that make a difference? Why is it doing that? Just give me a second. I had these videos prepped for us, and I'm not sure why they're behaving the way they are. Here we go. Sorted.
Who sat in government for many...
Give me 1 second, let me put my headphones on. Jenny, I have no security in my house. For a while I slept with a knife under my pillow and I barricaded myself in.
Politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth, and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Published, will there be some sort of apology to all of those who were criticised by ministers as talking total nonsense, I'm quoting here, and misinformation? and those who were more or less accused of racism for raising this issue?
The most important thing is getting
Well,
justice.
no, this is what I've asked you is the most important thing.
Well, no, Trevor.
For many people, who were criticised in that way.
Trevor, what is the most important thing
Of
here?
course,
It is
it's the position of the victims. I
It is the
understand that.
victims, and it's not people's hurt feelings about how they've been spoken about. The most important here is the victims of these evil crimes.
But the reason it matters is because those people who raise this issue on behalf of victims who cannot often speak for themselves were accused by government ministers of, quote, total nonsense, misinformation and racism. So actually, surely that's important as well.
I think the most important thing is the victims themselves. And we have been busy as a government this last year implementing the 200 or so recommendations of the previous inquiry. Convictions are now at a record high. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is always focused, whether it's on this or other issues, on what practical things can be done to make sure that justice is always delivered.
But you see, this has to be dealt with properly to make sure this doesn't happen in future. Presumably there are going to be some lessons learned here about the way ministers respond to these issues.
Well, the Prime Minister, when he was Director of Prosecutions, he brought the first convictions in Rochdale. Louise Casey, when she did her review in Rotherham, uncovered what was going on there. So I think the Prime Minister's got a good track record in this area. The first convictions, he, unlike the previous government, is implementing the recommendations of the J Review. And now we will go further and have alongside these local inquiries and national inquiries. So we do learn lessons for the victims.
I'm only
Okay. She talked about local hurt feelings. Honestly, she's a disgrace. People have died campaigning. Branded racist and far right. People have died. Whilst her and her kind covered it up. And we know she's a liar. She lied on her CV, for crying out loud. And you can see, just by having a look at her face, that is evil personified. That is one evil person. I describe this as a fight between good and evil. That is evil. But she's now talking about these 5 local inquiries. Remember, the only local inquiry of the 5 is Oldham. There's no other 4 have been announced, running alongside the national inquiry. That's not going to happen. You can't have 2 parallel inquiries run by the government where one has powers, statutory powers, and the others don't. So don't worry. We're already on that. We've already on that. It's a Sunday. I spoke with Rupert Lowe's inquiry team, the lads who do all the work in the background. I'm on a train down on Tuesday morning to spend the day with them. They're young, they're hungry, and they're full of energy. By the time I've finished with them, they'll know exactly what the government is going to do and how we're going to counter. You can't run parallel inquiries where some have statutory powers and others don't. What are you going to do? Put the local inquiries in the towns we fear the most and send the statutory inquiry off to the places where the rape gangs never existed? Well, that's what ICSA did. Thank you, Karen. Don't worry about the super chat. I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful all of you are here. But Trevor Phillips humiliated her. And Trevor Phillips is on record for saying this was about race relations, the fear of being branded racist. You go and organise, mate, all you want. I don't even know what that means. If you think you'll organise and go on the streets and attack people, I'm not with that. I'm not with that at all. I am blacklisted, Katie. And let me demonstrate that blacklist to you. He doesn't need a public apology. I don't need a public apology. If you're in this space because you care about the gang rape of children, they can do whatever they want to me. Him is man enough to take it. It's not an apology. I have no interest in being deflected by an apology. She doesn't need to say sorry to me, by the way. Because her sorry will be meaningless anyway. Listen to this.
Let's talk now to Councillor Abdul Wahid. He is an independent councillor in Oldham. Abdul, thank you for talking to me this morning. We know that Oldham was one of the areas selected for a smaller report, but now there's going to be a national inquiry into these rape gangs. What do you think of that?
I think it's brilliant. It's a bit of a surprise because there was no indication from the government that they were interested in this. They actually said that they don't. It's not needed. So the fact that Keir Starmer has practically done a U-turn on this, it has come a bit of a shock, but a welcome shock. I think whatever findings are going to be reported in the Casey audit has probably pushed him to making this U-turn. And quite frankly, it's welcome. The fact that it's a national inquiry and it's got statutory powers is fantastic.
What is the scale of the problem in Oldham where you are?
Well, the scale of the problem is something which we need to find out because this has been such a long standing issue where people have believed that, you know, there's been institutional failure where there's been cover-ups. The Labour Council here have repeatedly denied, a proper inquiry. 6 or 7 times they've voted against it. So yeah, you know, we have to see it. There's been several arrests as well, which is quite also welcoming, you know, of historical cases. I think they date back to about 6 to 7 years ago that these crimes were committed, and there's been arrests made. So you know, although I can't answer what the scale of it is, are we just touching the surface, or is it a lot more?
Do you see this happening right now, Abdul? You know, you're a councillor, you're on the streets, you see people. Do you see children being groomed? Do you see or aware of the fact that this is continuing right now? Because we're told by so many people this is a historical problem, it's gone on 10, 15 years ago. Our guest previously, Marlon West, says he sees it happening right now where he is. What about you in Oldham?
Well, in Oldham, absolutely. You can't say that there's no child sexual exploitation happening anywhere, to be honest. And in Oldham, you know, you hear of reports of complaints that are happening, but maybe not the gang-related stuff, which you know is taking the headlines. That's not so prevalent. It's not something which I've come across on recent cases. It seems to be a bit historical, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking into that or trying to find the perpetrators of that.
Abdul, I hope you don't mind me asking you your ethnic background, but someone called Abdul Wahid, I presume that you are perhaps a Pakistani Muslim yourself, is that correct?
I certainly am. Yes, I'm a Pakistani Muslim.
And you're standing up, you're going on national broadcaster talking about this, saying you welcome an inquiry, that this is an issue. Will that cause problems for you, standing up about this?
Initially, when I took this stance, I've been a counsellor myself for 2 years, and I recall when I wasn't in this position, and obviously I'm still a resident in Oldham, and I saw all these situations arising, and I was very surprised that nobody from our representatives would speak up about this issue. So when I found myself in this position where I am a counsellor, I have got a voice, and I consciously made an effort to make sure that I spoke up on this issue. I did have a little bit of apprehension which way it's going to go, whether I'm going to get any kind of form of backlash. Now, thankfully, I haven't. I've actually been celebrated across all communities, not just my own.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, what would you say? There have been people who've been called, people from various ethnicities, particularly Marlon West talked about it himself. He was called racist for simply bringing this up. Is there a cultural problem within the Pakistani Muslim culture in this country in regard to their treatment of women?
To be honest, I wouldn't want to, not that I know of. There's, being a Pakistani Muslim, there's nothing which I know of that's,
But we do know that these gangs are predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'd rather wait for this inquiry to come out fully, to try to understand that. Maybe there is some sort of, issue in regards to, racial profiling or something, or it may be a case of, okay, well, it's happened, and there's been a lack of institutional, focus on this.
But where you are in Oldham, just finally, where you are in Oldham, do you not see that there are people who don't, you have integrated, you've stood up, you've stood for a counsellor, you're in that area, you're speaking out about this problem. Do you not see within your own community that there are people who don't have that attitude, who don't integrate, who don't perhaps learn English, who don't hold British values? Do you see that as a problem?
Well, the cases that have come to light, we're no different. A lot of the community is no different to yourself, Peter, or anybody else. That you don't have that first-hand, knowledge of what a perpetrator is doing until it gets brought up in the news or anything like that. So it's difficult to say, but it is concerning. It is concerning that there is some issue where some of the reports that have happened, they seem to be racially targeting people, and that's not. It's not a cultural problem, as in like the whole of the Pakistani Muslim community are, this way.
I don't think anybody would say that for a second. Yeah. But what they might say is that there are some people within the Pakistani Muslim community who are highly overrepresented within these rape gangs in terms of the many convictions that have been there, and they may understandably conclude that there might be a cultural problem here.
What I would say, Peter, is that there's certainly a trend of a lack of respect, because Pakistani Muslim communities, we have a strong sense of, okay, well, we have mothers, we have sisters, and we hold them as our honor. So if that's our attitude for our women, then that has to be across the board. So like if you then racially profile and try to suggest that a white
but it's not racially profiling though, is it? To simply look at the numbers and to say, I mean, people aren't being convicted because they're racially profiled; they're being convicted because they've done it. But then when you look at the number of people who are involved in these rape gangs who are from the Pakistani Muslim community, that is undeniable. The numbers are there. That's not a racial point. It's a factual numerical point, isn't it?
I'm not trying to defend Pakistani Muslims in any way there. What I'm trying to say is that some of these Pakistanis that have been involved, it's been reported that they've actually racially profiled their
Yeah.
victims.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's very concerning. You know, because there's the intent behind it.
Yeah.
So that's something which we have to get more information about.
Okay.
It's not something which you particularly know or I particularly know, but it's certainly, this is why this audit or this inquiry with statutory powers is so welcome, because we need to get to the bottom of it. If there are people in our communities who believe that it's okay to go and do whatever they want to any children who are of a different background or come from a different community, that's absolutely wrong. Well, you know, so we need to get to that.
Okay.
And quite honestly, this is quite welcome. It needs to happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses now.
Okay, thank you very much for your thoughts on that. We'll get the thoughts of our debate desk panellists. Lucy Beresford.
Talk Radio, GB News, like to present themselves as, you know, your voice, our voice. It nearly came to slaps that Councillor Abdul Wahid belongs to the Pakistani sectarian pro-Islamist Oldham group. Let me give you some context. I have no idea why Peter Cardwell and Talk invited him on. I think Peter got fed up and went off script a bit and started asking him some of these questions. Abdul Wahid is a Pakistani sectarian. He's an anti-Semite. He confronted me last May and his goons had to pull him off. He's a councillor. I was at the count with some independent councillors. We'd removed the count, you know, from the Labour Party from power, which is how we got the vote in. It's the first count I went to. Denise was there with me. I took samosas with me, by the way. I took 100 samosas with me and sat down in their backyard. And he came charging up to me. Some of his guys had to pull him away. This was in the council chamber where the count was taking place. Later that evening, some Pakistani gangster tried to attack me when I went to the toilet. He was kicked out of the Conservative Party. He was actually elected as a Conservative councillor. He was kicked out of the Conservative Party for anti-Semitism. There you go, Gary was there. Why won't Peter Cardwell or anyone from Talk TV pick up the phone and speak to me, and instead have people like this on? And shall I show you how insincere they are, how much liars they are? A couple of days earlier, this is the Facebook page by the Oldham group, who were upset about the debate to do with halal, banning of halal meat, slaughtering. Let's be clear. Halal slaughter, when done correctly, is both humane and lawful. The debate isn't driven by science or compassion. It's driven by prejudice and a growing movement to erode Muslim rights under the cover of British values. When Islam is repeatedly singled out, whether it's halal food, hijab bans, or so-called grooming gangs rhetoric, it sends a dangerous message that our faith and our presence is are unwelcome. There you have it. There you have it. So-called grooming gangs. Just last week, this. This is just last week. Does anyone believe Abdul Wahid or his boys will in any way fight for justice on this? And even if Talk TV didn't have me on, why didn't it contact Councillor Lewis Quigg? Because if you listen to what Wahid had to say, whose brother, by the way, is a convicted drug dealer, and you've all seen the Charlie Peters thing of the Pakistani drug lines alongside the grooming gangs. Why didn't I have Lewis Quigg on? And he claimed nothing had happened. Yeah, there'd been no one had, he came into the council chamber, no one had done anything. Here. This was written by Lewis Quigg on behalf of the Conservatives. We are grateful for your letter dated the 2nd of... Is that the one I want? Yeah. Dr. Caroline Wilkins. Sorry, they've not put a date on this for some reason. But you get the impression there. We are writing to you in regards to the allegations made by Mr. Raja Mia MBE in an online blog, link here. The accusations and allegations are of a disturbing nature, and we believe that these allegations and those against named individuals warrant a full and proper investigation. We note that accuser and accused have the right under law to be heard. So far as we are aware, a number of the allegations that have been made have not been refuted nor have been pursued for further investigation. Given the gravity of the accusation, in particular around child sexual exploitation and the safeguarding risk to children, to name a few, we believe that this matter should be referred to the Police and Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government so that the council and those accused can be fully and transparently investigated in the proper way. We therefore ask that you refer the allegations made to the relevant authorities forthwith, given the serious allegations that have been made. We give you 7 working days within which we expect a personal reply from you in response to us and advise accordingly that you are taking the necessary steps. At the time, the leader of the Conservative group was Councillor John Hudson. Dear councillors, well, you can see 2nd of September 2020. All of this we did, and we worked through the Conservatives. Lewis Quigg, who's now facing sanction. Remember, he's been followed home by Pakistani gangsters himself. Right from the offset, as confirmed in that letter, what's triggered this was the article I wrote. And I've been campaigning on ever since. He sent it to Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, who was the chief executive at the time. She quit and ran away. Took her entire team with her. We've been fighting this for over 6 years. And they have on a Pakistani councillor who fudges all of it. No CSE happening, or CSE is happening. Won't admit to the Pakistani rape clans. So you need to understand. Just as we knew what Maggie Oliver was doing, and we let it go, because we knew we would need her later on, as you've now seen, we also let go what Talk TV are doing and what GB News are doing. I am not a child in this. I understand the pieces on the board, and they are of value to us as we pursue to inform and shape this national inquiry. So it does not matter that they're blacklisting me. In fact, it suits me. Because despite blacklisting me, here we are. I don't think Mark was here when I was offering to hand out slaps, do you? No. So don't worry about that. How many of you are active on X? I think well, it's a question you have to ask them, isn't it? Rather than ask me. Same with GB News, it's a question you have to ask them rather than ask me. If you were to ask my opinion, I'd say they've had lawyers' letters from either the government or the Labour Party or Labour Party politicians. That's what I'd say. I was blacklisted in our town and it made zero difference, and it will make zero difference nationally either. Rose, I'm not blocking you from anything, sweet. If you go on X, you will find there's a whole host of people patting themselves on the back. And then routinely on those threads, people who followed my work are saying, oh, don't forget Recusant Raja, don't forget Raja Mir, don't forget Recusant 9, don't forget this. Guys, don't worry about it. What they're trying to do is write me out of the equation. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. And my ego is non-existent anyway when it comes to that sort of stuff, so who cares? We know the difference we've made. And now we know the difference we're going to make, because whilst they're patting themselves on the back, they have no idea of what the government are going to do next. I do. Which is why I'm on a train to London on Tuesday to help inform and shape the Rape Gang Inquiry's response, Rupert Lowe's team's response. And Rupert Lowe's team's response includes this to start with. These are a list of 10. Well, it in terms of what they want to see the public inquiry, and we'll build on this. Will it confront the role of ethnicity, culture and religion without censorship? Will it publish all evidence in full, not just a carefully worded summary? Will it work with independent campaigners who have led this fight for decades? Will it publish demographic and historic data on both perpetrators and victims? Will it review every relevant child protection file in local authorities? Will it do the same for every police force in the UK? Will it review whether current data collection systems are fit for purpose? Will it investigate compensation and survivor treatment? Will it investigate the political motivations behind the cover-up, including the role of the Labour Party? Will the government commit to implementing the inquiry's recommendations in full and on time, and 1 year time limit for the inquiry? Now, I didn't help with this. They did this themselves. One of the reasons I'm going to see them, because I will strengthen this. I will strengthen this. It's not possible to do a public inquiry in a year. You believe that if you want, Ashley. I know full well, when we started this 6.5 years ago, no one was talking about a national inquiry or a public inquiry apart from us. And no one knew how to get to this phase apart from us. We had a game plan set out of taking over a council and forcing the government to officially respond. I can't explain that any more than you, any more than I have. It means I'm censored from appearing on any mainstream news channel. That's what blacklisting means. And the only reason I can come up with is because they've had lawyers' letters. They have. They have. Sammy Woodhouse isn't happy. I understand why she's not happy. Politicians who originally said no to an inquiry, voted no by the way, are now relieved there will be one. They go with whatever is popular at the time, and Sarah is a perfect example of this. Politics is such a dirty game. Sammy does amazing work. I'm a political campaigner. Politics isn't such a dirty game. Politics is what it is. And we need to understand what's going on here. They are rewriting history. They are trying to censor and silence the voices they don't want, such as myself. And then they are going to position themselves in places where they will promote themselves as advocates of truth and justice. Those who want to contest that view will end up shouting and screaming, going down and falling into the traps that have been laid for them by Starmer and his mates, by the mainstream media, by the metropolitan elite, whatever phrase, terminology you want to use. The political right will fall out with each other like it always does, over who was responsible and who's done more. And that is why we know the strategy that will be deployed to cover this up. And because we know the strategy that will be deployed to cover this up, we can force and maneuver this public inquiry into a place it doesn't want to go. We can do that. We've got the tools, we've got the team, we've got the resources. We can do that. We just need to focus. So tomorrow, Casey's report allegedly comes out, and this is what Katie Lamb had to say. 10-year-olds cannot be prostitutes. They are rape victims. Suggesting otherwise is revolting, but this is the sort of thing social workers convince themselves to avoid facing up to the truth of these crimes, non-prosecuting for letting this happen. I'll be releasing information tomorrow of how a local authority was referring survivors to an organisation that specialises in working with sex workers. I'll say that again. I'll be releasing information tomorrow exposing how a local authority was referring children who've been groomed and gang raped to an organisation that's bread and butter work is working with sex workers. Every time they want to take it somewhere safe, I will take it somewhere else. Every time they release something, thinking it will help them in the cover-up, I will use it against them to expose them even further. Every time they release a report, I will use what's in that report to turn it around on them, and then I will expose what isn't in that report to hurt them even more. Every time they do anything, I will use it and I will share it, and it doesn't matter that I'm not on mainstream media. It doesn't matter that nobody listens to me. Remember that one, Gary, Lynn, Denise? In the end, they started saying, online conspiracy theorist, no one listens to him. It doesn't matter. We've got this far. We know what they're going to do. It's what we do next. It's what we do next. And look what we've done. This is the Rochdale MP on Friday, after the grooming gang convictions. The Rochdale Labour MP Paul Waugh is writing a letter in support of a public inquiry and specifically referencing Pakistani heritage rape gangs. Not grooming gangs, rape gangs. Do you see? Look. Commons letter-headed paper. There is a wider point too. The prosecution in court said the abuse had taken place under the noses of social workers and others who should have done far more to protect them. It's messed up again, hasn't it? Let's see if that makes it better. There you go. See? See what we've done? Now, someone said to me, oh, Roger, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I responded, it was one of the supporters on Facebook, and I don't really comment much on Facebook, I put stories out. But have some faith. Have some faith. We've got this far. We'll get this over the line. What is it we want? That's where we've got to start. What is it we want? And then we'll work backwards. Now, if you want to know all about public inquiries and how they operate and how they can go wrong and how we can influence them, I'll do all that. Don't worry about that. There was no point doing that until we got to the point where we'd force the government to this. Now we'd force the government to this. I'll lay out all the stages, all the steps. What they'll do if it's a cover-up. Or what we can do to counter it. And I believe this. And I want that, but I want so much more than that. I want so much more than that. Thank you. Now, I've not done my job, I'm afraid. The work I put out is completely free. I charge nothing. I'm going to London on Tuesday. I cover all my costs. I don't take a penny. I don't even take a penny in expenses off the rape gang inquiry team. Never mind the fee. When I go and speak at events, meet councils, all of that, I cover the costs on the hope that more people come and subscribe and support me on Red Wall and the Rabble. Sadly, our numbers are pitiful. I mean that, our numbers are pitiful. The Prime Minister announces yesterday, forced by us, announces yesterday a public inquiry. Our numbers went up by 26. Now I know I need 10,000 people because I understand how this is played. Whilst they censor and silence me and we grow from a local platform to now a national platform, I know I need 10,000 people as a minimum number to be able to amplify what I say, getting out the scrutiny I hold them to. I know I need 10,000. Most of you haven't subscribed to Red Wall and the Rebel. I'm on just under 4,500. Gary, and that's after 6 years. No, mate. I ain't got time for any of that shit. There's just me. Do you think I'm going to sell t-shirts? There's a 200-page report coming out tomorrow. That rapid audit. Are any of you going to read the 200 pages and work out what's said, what isn't said? Draw all the threads to get together and then present it back in a way where people can get angry over it and know what levers to pull to inform and influence the national inquiry? No, it's not even that, Katie. There's about 1 million interactions a month on my work. Majority of you don't subscribe, don't support me. There's two ways we'll lose this. One is they put me in prison or kill me, as in silence me. Or the second one is We just don't have the numbers to influence. I don't want money. I see some of you saying raising money and stuff. I don't want money. If you subscribe and you can support me financially, great. I need numbers. We need numbers. And on that, I'll leave you. I'm with Sonia Poulton in the morning. I promised I'd go on her show. So that's what I'm going to do. I think it's on at 9 o'clock. And then I'm going to be, one of the MPs has promised to send me the report as soon as they've got it. So I'll start reading that. And I'll come back in the evening and go through some of the headlines of what Baroness Casey has said that scared them so much. So if you take anything away from this, 3 things. 1, have some faith. We've got a set of skills that's got us this far, and we'll take the next step together. We know we don't trust them. We know they will try and cover it up. And we're ready to counter that. And finally, please subscribe and grow and support me. And no uptick. I've told you, 20, 25, 26. We've got a national inquiry over the line, and our numbers have gone up by 26. No. Thank you so much. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.